Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Lines and Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Stone, and today we have One Piece, Chapter 1102, titled The Life of Kuma. Let's jump into it. Immediately, I'm a big rap fan, by the way. Immediately, I saw that title. The first thing I thought about was The Life of Kuma. Not The Life of Kuma, The Life of Pablo. Great album by Kanye West. Everyone Knows Father, Stretch My Hands Part 1 immediately came to mind. That was almost going to be the thumbnail, and then I realized I wanted to get this video out very quickly. Wasn't going to happen. So, moving on. The cover request is cool. Again, moving on. Just want to cover this chapter very quickly. You know, Christmas is coming up. This is and some of these panels leaked or were shown at the latest Shonen Jump event. This chapter, this is the closest I think I have and may ever come to crying at a One Piece chapter, because getting to see the life of Kuma, the life of Kuma, the life of Bonnie, and knowing where they are now just makes it just so much more painful. And if it weren't for the fact that I have no soul, I would probably cry here. I mean, yeah, this is about the closest I have and probably will ever come to crying at a One Piece chapter. We open with Bonnie essentially showing that she's a pirate chasing after Kuma like she said she was going to do. If you remember from 2 weeks ago, that's the entire reason Bonnie becomes a pirate, is to chase after Kuma. And so at the same time we see Bonnie moving, and a side quest optional, you know, when we play video games, right? Like a main quest and then side quest optional. Side quest optional is finding Nika. Pan back over to Luffy, and I will say, obviously Oda has the advantage of retrospect here, so he's able to fit things in because he knows where what has already happened in the story, and so it's not really a retcon, but it kind of is. It's a soft retcon, like putting things in that we technically didn't know, because I'm pretty sure Oda also didn't know them at the moment, but it's fine. It works perfectly. He puts them in. We get to see one of the reasons Dragon goes to Dragon's going to Logtown, so we get to see that. We get to see Ace and Jinbei talking about Luffy after getting his bounty, after defeating Arlong. Obviously Jinbei having that relationship with Arlong, Ace having that relationship with Luffy, and it also makes more sense and fleshes out the Marineford War, because my original understanding of Marineford was that Ace and I'm gonna make that mistake a couple times. Ace and Jinbei developed their relationship while they were in jail in Impel Down together, and that's why Ace was willing to why Jinbei was willing to essentially put his life on the line for Luffy. And that never, like, I was like, okay, I guess it makes sense, whatever, you know. It makes sense, but having Oda having built out this relationship more between Jinbei and Ace makes this a little bit more acceptable. Why Jinbei would jump in front of Luffy and take that magma fist to the back, trying to save him from Akainu. So we get to see that. We get to see Dragon reacting to Luffy and Kuma reacting to Bonnie at the same time. And Bonnie, you know, body of an adult, mind of a child, and so she's setting out her pirate code, which we know is important. It's kind of like in Naruto, where we have the ninja way, Naruto's ninja way. In the same way Whitebeard says earlier in the story, that each pirate must live by a certain set of codes, or else what the hell is the point, right? And Bonnie kind of naively is laying out her point. So she's like, we can plunder whoever we want because we're pirates, right? But only from the bad guys. And we can rob them blind and not help anyone unless you really need it, right? So, you know, she's a good soul, and she's just trying to, this is like playing pretend, you know, when you're in the playground with your friends. At least me growing up, we'd pretend to fight as like anime characters or like Justice League characters. We'd kind of do that. Yes, I was a nerd, can't you tell? She's just doing the same thing, but with actual stakes, like her life is at stake. And we get to see why she puts the earring there, so that Kuma would recognize her, because she has something where the jewelry stones, the sapphire stones, used to be. So we get to see on that side, and then while Kuma is running away from Bonnie, so Bonnie's running towards Kuma, Kuma's running away so he can upkeep his end of the bargain so that Bonnie doesn't die, right? And so we see him going back to Egghead Island, watching over the progress of the pacifista being made by Dr. Vegapunk, where Vegapunk finds out that Dragon has a son. I know that Dragon probably, you know, we found out in the last chapter that Dragon holds his cards close to his chest because, according to him, the child is the weak spot for the parent. They're willing to do anything for them, and we can see that, at least a good parent, and we can see that with the life of Kuma, right? So Kuma is saying Luffy's looking more and more like Nika. He fights freely, he's laughing, he's a rubber guy, and he's standing up to government. You know, funny. Get to see the Thriller Bark scene. Nothing happened. Is probably still the Zoro fan. I'm about to suck Zoro off, bear with me. One of the greatest scenes, definitely the greatest pre-time skip scene. I don't know what to tell you. Nothing happened. Right? Anyway, moving on from that, we get to see Bonnie right on Sabaody Archipelago, and Kuma coming in to save the Straw Hats. You know, we don't know what it is at the same time, but Kuma really gets to see that Nika might actually exist, and that gives me some level of hope that even as he was going under, he knows that there is some salvation coming at the end of the day, right? And that's why I'm pretty sure he even says to Dr. Vegapunk that, or to himself rather, that they are going to be the ones that will save the world. So Kuma is extremely sure, and he knows that in his heart he is saving Nika, and that just makes it all the more better, right? So that does give it's a silver lining to what happens by the end of the chapter. And we obviously know what happens at the end of the chapter because it's what's happening current story. One thing that is important to note though is that for context of all this, Kuma wasn't fully under, right? So it might have seemed like, and I think this is a little bit of a retcon by Oda, because Kuma basically seemed like a robot. When we met him in Thriller Bark and at Sabaody and at the definitely the Paramore War, as we find out later in the chapter, but those two earlier occasions felt like robots do, you know. So I'm gonna count it as kind of a retcon by Oda, but good enough retcon. Not too pissy about it. We get to see Kuma and Dr. Vegapunk and Saint J. Garcia Saturn, and there's a conversation there that I want to get back to, because Oda has the ability to completely ruin this flashback in my eyes. Moving on from there, we kind of go to the final scene of the chapter, essentially finding out that Kuma, just like how he can create pain, we also know now that he can create memories, and he creates a copy of his memories. So he doesn't lose his memories. There's also a kind of a plot hole here, which is, if this is just a copy of his memories that Bonnie walked into, how the hell does she know this part? That's happened after he's whatever. Anyway, we get to see good thematic reference of Kuma running like Nika, like the Nika dance. Oda is very, very good at world building and thematic importance in the story. This should surprise absolutely no one. Even going under the needle, Kuma's concerned that he may have caused harm to people. And Dr. Vegapunk is saying, you're a hero, right? Nothing you've ever done has been to the benefit of anyone but everyone else. Has been to the benefit of everyone else, not to the benefit of yourself. And looking at this, Kuma is essentially dying, right? Right here. And we know that a trait of those with the Will of D is that they die with a smile. We're thinking of Ace. We're thinking of Roger. I'm pretty sure Port gets de Rouge, although I don't think we ever got to see that in the story. But pretty much every Will of D character that we've seen die in the story has died with a smile. I don't know if that extends to D allies. Obviously that would fit Kuma, but maybe Kuma has a Will of D. Don't know, not too married to it, just thought it'd be interesting. But we get to see Kuma essentially die at the end of the chapter. And yeah, if I had a heart, I would cry here. He says, I can't say how grateful I am. Thank you for saving Bonnie's life. He's talking to Dr. Vegapunk. If you see her again, could you tell her something for me? Please wish her a happy 10th birthday. Break next week. This is unequivocally the best flashback in all of One Piece. By far. Not even close. This is by far the best backstory in all of One Piece. And as much as it pains me to say this, Oda has the ability to completely ruin this entire backstory. And I'll show you how. Remember that section I said I wanted to come back to? Let's come back to it. With Dr. Vegapunk arguing with St. J. Garcia's Saturn, Vegapunk says, I've invented a circuit for the brain that allows one to switch between two states of consciousness akin to a split personality. And if you allow me to test it, and then St. J. Garcia cuts him off and says, no. If for some reason Vegapunk is able to give Kuma his personality back, to me, and if you disagree, that's fine. I would really love to hear it in the comments. This basically would wipe the purpose of this flashback off, because nothing really changed. There's no emotional loss, and I know that's something we've struggled with in One Piece, which is basically without the death of AIDS, there has, and I guess what's that guy's name in Wano? I guess I'll throw it up in post. There have actually been no emotional deaths in One Piece. In fact, and I know the scabbards like Ashura Doji died, and that would have been an impactful moment if we didn't have fake deaths like Kinemon, like Pell in fucking Pell. If we didn't have these fake deaths in One Piece, it would hit so much harder. But because in the back of my head I'm thinking, okay, well, are they actually dead, or are they just gonna come back to life? The most current culprit of that obviously being Kinemon surviving because of Law's attack that he did to him in fucking Punk Hazard. Come on, ridiculous. And so if Kuma stays the way that he is, basically a robot for life, or dies, I think that's fine too. Where he had one last order, and it was, because we see that his quote unquote last order is to protect Bonnie, protect the Thousand Sunny. Maybe we see one last order where he saves Vegapunk, the Straw Hats, Bonnie, Shutenmaru, saves everyone on the island and then dies. If we get to see that and then he dies, I'm fine with that too. What I absolutely do not want to see is Kuma coming back to life, because it removes all the stakes, it removes the weight of this, and it will actually make this one of the worst backstories in all of One Piece, because there's no finality. But assuming that doesn't happen, I'm cautiously optimistic it won't, but we'll see. Assuming it doesn't happen, greatest backstory in One Piece. Oda's cooking again. This would definitely seal Egghead Island as being the best post-time skip arc in all of One Piece. So, like I said, all in all, amazing chapter. Love it. We will see what Oda does with it in the present story. The backstory, it seems, seeing as we're cutting back to current day Bonnie, is officially over. And so we wait to see what Oda will do. But that's it, guys. That's all I got. Chapter amazing. Break next week, so I'll see you guys back in the new year, I guess. But that's it. Yeah, so until next time, I'm your host Dan Stone, reminding you to keep your claws sharp and stay in the hunt. Take care, guys. Have a good Christmas and a good new year. And I'll see you in 2024. Take care.